Earlier, there was some sense of fear that journalists are powerful because journalists are people who can, tell the public about things that are going wrong. But now there's a sense that these are irritants, that these are pests, and these are people who need to be just crushed and silenced and pushed aside because they are troublemakers and they are problem creators. Real journalism is happening, it does take place, but it's not getting any kind of recognition. In the process of this kind of work that is being devalued, and I would also blame the government for doing that, because by not holding press conferences, by cutting off access to journalists, in corridors of power, whether it is Mantralaya or whether it is Parliament or anywhere else. And as soon as you have journalists who are pushing the envelope, when they are questioning the status quo, they are being put behind bars. Very often they decide not to file cases because the process itself is so punishing, it's very, very difficult. So they just give up. They may have a protest or something like that, and that's it. Invariably, it becomes a very lonely battle after the initial publicity that people get. So it's different levels of support. It's legal, sometimes it's financial very often because they're robbed of their means of livelihood. And emotional support, even support in terms of continuing to work, to keep up their work as journalists. What is problematic is that the punishments under these provisions are much more severe. And getting bail is, as you know, almost impossible under the UAPA. Getting bail in other matters is even more serious. The first reaction of the police is to say that the journalist was either killed or beaten up or assaulted or anything else for personal reasons. They never ever investigate whether journalism was a reason for killing or any of the assaults that happen. That's invariably the first reaction. You'd have to look at what work the journalist did and then trace back who the journalist has antagonized in some way because of which this has happened. So police don't want to do that because that would then upset a lot of the local power centers. Journalists who have been reporting in rural areas, in small cities and towns, are under immense pressure. Most of them are stringers, so they work on a piece rate basis. They are not recognized as journalists because they often have to supplement their income in some way or the other. They are at the mercy of the district administration or the local police. There's often a huge amount of tension between these agencies. In Siddique Kappan's case, not even done their report. Even before they could even get to the village where they wanted to make a report about the Hathras rape and murder, he was picked up and put in jail. In one case, a journalist was reporting on a flood in Kashmir, and he was swept away. They only found his camera. You know, that necktie, whatever, that tag was still on his body. And there was never, no media house refused, even acknowledged that he worked for them. The tragic aspect in many of these cases is that they are literally thrown under the bus by the media houses that they work for. So that's a standard ploy. Just legitimacy itself is a major problem. There are so many ways in which governments can clamp down, not necessarily only by filing cases. They can cripple economically also, which they have done. In so many of these media houses have been raided, and their economic arrangements have been scrutinized, and their accounts have been frozen. They've been put into jail. I mean, there was UAPs, money laundering. I mean, these are all laws that are just being thrown at them. It's definitely not easy. So we need, I think, a much greater understanding that media is important, that news media plays its role. Verified, authentic information in the public interest needs to be put out. Questions need to be asked.